Okay. So, what you want to do is, let's just find the area of one triangle. So I'm going to go with this triangle just because why not? Doesn't matter what triangle it is. I was just saying it was that triangle. This is not question 8. It's here. So, first let's draw the triangle. Why, thank you. Alright, hang on, let me actually make a good triangle. There we go. Now let's split it into 2 right triangles because that's just what you do nowadays. That's not, hang on. Now you may be wondering, how do we find the angles of this triangle? Well, in the directions it says that all the triangles are equilateral triangles, and all equilateral triangles are equiangular, and if a triangle is equiangular, all of the triangles have to be 60 degrees. And since we're splitting this triangle into 2, that means that the top angle up here is 30 degrees, this is 90 degrees, and then that leaves these to be 60 degrees. So now, what we can do is we can figure out, how do we get a side length? Well, it's in terms of s, and you can see at the bottom here, it's made up of 3 bases that are all equal to each other in order to get s, which means that a side length, it would just be one of these bases, so it would be 1/3 s, because instead of all 3, it's just this is one of them. So it's 1 out of the 3, and so it's 1/3 s. Well, this whole thing is 1/3 s, but we split it into 2, so it's 1/6 s, because 1/3 divided by 2 is 1/6. And then you can also figure out that since the triangles are equilateral, we can figure out that since the base here is 1/3, that means that this side right here also has to be 1/3, and along with this side right here, and this side right here, which means that this side is 1/3 s, and this side is 1/3 s, which actually confirms our 1/6 because this is the hypotenuse, and this is the smaller leg, and it is half of the hypotenuse, which is according to the rule of special triangles. It has to be. And then also according to the rule of the sextile triangle, right here, the height of the triangle, of the whole thing, I mean, like of, this triangle that I drew, is 1/6 times s times the square root of 3. So now in order to get the final answer for the height, we would multiply, we would use a equals 1/2 bh, so we use 1/3 times 1/6, 1/3 s, remember the s, 1/6 s times the square root of 3 times 1/2. And so I'm just gonna do the 1/2 right now and make this 1/3 1/6 to make it easier. So now it's 1/6 s times 1/6 s times the square root of 3, which if you distribute this, you'll get 1/36 s squared times the square root of 3. Now what you can do is you can, you know that one of these triangles, so just one of them, is 1/36 s squared times the square root of 3. You want to find these 3 triangles, which means that you would multiply the answer that you got by 3. So what you would do is you would multiply the 1/36 by 3, which, by the way, just so you know, I know you know this, but just for refresher, because I know the final answers are in the forms of division problems and not fractions, and it's probably easier for you with division problems. I just like to do things in fractions sometimes. So this can also be written as s squared times the square root of 3 over 36. And now we can multiply this by 3 over 1. And one way you could do that is, well, so the way I did it is, what I did is I realized that since you're multiplying it by 3, you could just divide the 3 into the 36, which might sound weird, but I just realized that 36 was divisible by 3, and if I were to divide the 36 by 3, it would have the same effect as multiplying it by 3, because the number that you're dividing by would get smaller by that amount. But since that's not like something that you do, 1 second, let me 3s squared times the square root of 36 over 36, sorry, no, not the square root of 36, I'm really sorry, okay, hang on, let me fix that. The square root of 3, like it is up here, it's the same, yeah, so over 36, and so 3 over 36 is the same as 1 over 12, so 1 over 12 s squared times the square root of 3, which is the same thing as saying s squared times the square root of 3 over 12, which is B. So the answer is B.